One for joining us on TVC News Breakfast Show. Now, the governor of Edo State, Monday Okpebholo, is defending the suspension of the 18 elected local government chairmen by the State House of Assembly. The governor, who chronicled the events that preceded and necessitated the suspension of the 18 local government council chairmen, cited the inability to explain the purpose of contributing 800 million naira monthly to leaders of their political party.
The governor spoke during a meeting with the acting local government chairman at the government house in Benin City, the state capital. Governor Okpebholo promised to support the acting chairman, believing that they are capable of delivering service that will ensure grassroots development. In the course of the program, we'll at some point shift the conversation away from politics in Edo State as we beam our searchlight on the National Assembly, reviewing the activities on the Public Petitions Committee of the Senate in the last 1 year. We would also look at what lies ahead of the committee in the new year as Nigerians patiently await the full resumption of plenary in the coming days.
Let's tell you that the Senate Committee on Public Petitions, Ethics and Privileges is responsible for investigating and addressing petitions from Nigerian citizens and corporations regarding various issues, particularly the conduct of public affairs. Now, this includes maintaining ethical standards within the Senate and overseeing matters of privilege for the Senate and its members, ensuring accountability and transparency in the legislative process.
And to help us drive these conversations forward is the senator representing Edo South Senatorial District, Senator Neda Imasuen, and he's the chairman of the Senate's Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions. He joins us in our studio. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Is your first time here?
Yes, it is.
All right. Let's talk about your state. Your state is in the news for, the sack of the 18 local government chairmen. This is clearly an abuse of executive powers. But, the governor, alleges that this is as a result of misappropriation of funds. Is this justified? Is this a justified, presentation by the governor?
Thank you for that question. I wouldn't look at it from the angle of justification of any sort. Rather, I'll look at it as what has actually led to this. There's a change of government. Before that was an election that brought in the local government chairman by the previous administration. And then, for what I understand, there were some allegations about financial misappropriation, that some monies were appropriated by this local government chairman to pursue the goals of the previous government in election. And so I think that is where the issue is. So the new government have come in, and for them to use the local government money to wage war against us. That's where I left it, in prosecuting their election against APC. And so I think that is where it has become so interesting to the present administration. And so they are looking at the financial misappropriation that's allegedly carried out by the local government chairman. Went to the House of Assembly because that's the oversight. The House of Assembly normally oversights local government, and asked them to look into this. Yes, he started by trying to sack them, but the House of Assembly, in their wisdom, thought that they should take a different route, and so suspended them for 2 months to enable them present their books and then look at it before they can either go back to work or do something else. So that's where they are. Okay. And then local government went to court and said that the governor had no authority to do that. And they also premised that upon the Supreme Court judgment, which gave them the autonomy, which the National Assembly is actually fighting for. We believe that the local government should have autonomy, financial autonomy especially. And so the Supreme Court has given its order. The governor is relying on the Edo State Local Government Act to do what he's doing.
Now, let me just come in with this. Now, is there a place where you can self-interpret a judgment given by the apex court in the land?
No, you can't. Once the Supreme, I'm a lawyer. Once the Supreme Court pronounces.
So how do you now place a governor through the back door, so to say, try to interpret a statement?
There has to be. See, when something is very political, you begin to look at the political solutions to them. And I think that is going to be the route. And I believe that that is going on back door. I watched a program where some of these same local government officials went to government house.
No, they're acting. Yeah, I think that they're acting. Those guys were suspended, okay. So they now have acting in place.
Went to government house and he addressed them and all that. I'm also aware that some of these chairmen as well are defecting.
The councillors.
The councillors are defecting. And then the councillors are there, whether they're using the councillors or councillors on their own, are not impeaching their chairman, which they have every right to do. Which is why I said there has to be a political solution to this. It's not really.
But distinguished, for someone that comes from the legislative arm of government, people expect that Governor Okpebholo should understand, due process, and separation of powers. But how do you place this? Is he in the right line of action? Is he acting right in terms of, undermining constitutional democracy? Do you think he's acting right?
Well, again, like I said, most of these things are all political. If you want me to give you a yes or no answer to this, I would be wrong, because there are other undertoning matters that is precipitating all of this, which might never come before unless you are in there. But Okpebholo is a senator. Once a senator is a senator. And so he understands the legislative, the work of the legislative arm of any government, which is why he went to the State House of Assembly. And the fallout of that is what we are experiencing now, which is these councillors, many of them, are jumping ship to join APC. And then they are now doing the bidding, which is what the government want to achieve. That is remove the chairman and replace them. And they are trying to do that legitimately by having them
impeached by the councillors.
By the councillors.
Now, all this arrangement, if you look at what's happening in Edo State, and you look at the one in Oyo State, when he used the House of Assembly to make certain amendments, and also you look at Anambra State, if you suggest that the National Assembly, both the Senate and the House of Rep, are in a way supporting the moves of these governors, because you have not amended that section of the Constitution that removes the power of the State Houses of Assembly to supervise, just like you don't have the National Assembly supervising the state. So why have you not amended that portion of the Constitution?
Well, it's not that simple as you think. It has come before the floor before. Some senators, some of us have raised the issue that section of the Constitution has to be amended. But in amending the Constitution, it's not a bill, it's not a motion. To amend the Constitution is an upward task.
That's the process.
But we have many sections that we need to amend. We are not amending them clause by clause. We are putting everything together. Because I belong to the Judiciary Committee as well. So we are looking at everything that we present at once, that this section, that section, because we can't afford to take one today and then come again and take another one, because it's not going to work. Because remember, we have to go back to the states and have the third of them to assent to it.
And this government still have...
And they still control the House of Assembly. So
no complaints was made.
A lot of consultation and all that to bring them to board.
No complaint was made against these governors, and yet the State House of Assembly went ahead to suspend them under the Section 20 of the Local Government Act or Local Government Law of Edo State. Yes. Does this section actually grants them that power? Because as I understand it, they don't have the power to do such under that section.
But the question I will ask is, this same House of Assembly, are they not PDP? They are not APC.
So what exactly, what is the game playing out?
Does that justify it?
No,
even if they don't belong to the APC?
It doesn't justify it. So
why should they contradict what is applicable to the laws of the land?
So the House of Assembly ought to take a position. That's what I'm saying.
So is there some kind of conning?
Or they've been compromised?
Yes, are they being compromised in some way? Because why should the State House of Assembly, who should understand the law, going against it, deliberately going against it? And you know that the previous government was heavily criticized for abuse of power, and we're seeing the same thing play out. So where does this lie?
Well, like I said, remember this same House of Assembly is populated by
The PDP.
And these local government chairmen we are talking about are PDP. So I will expect, or my expectation is that the House of Assembly should stand their grounds on certain issues. But if they have been convinced that this is the way to go, and they agree with the state governor to go that route,
distinguish. At what point should we and should you people, as the political class, begin to place national interest above political considerations? Because if we ever, Nigerians were excited when we had, when the Supreme Court gave the ruling, only for Nigerians to be shocked by the happening in Edo, Anambra, or your state. So which means you say you're putting together. No, before you eventually initiate that process, a lot of damage will have been done in the system. Now, why can't you put national interest and quickly see how to save the local government from being destroyed?
We are doing so. But like I said, amending the constitution is not a day's work. It's not a day's work. We have to, both houses of the National Assembly, both the House of Rep and the Senate, will have to concur and agree, and then we'll pass it. And then I'll take it round to the 36 states and have it to 1/3 of them to agree. If we have less than that to 1/3, we still cannot do anything. That's the constitutional provision. It's not the National Assembly. If we have our hands tied as a result of this, there's something we can do. But the President, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, can actually call the governors and have a meeting with them and try to appeal to their sensibilities, to let them understand why we must go the constitutional way in everything that we do. And if they buy into it, then it will be easy for us to pass this constitutional amendment. It's not by gun. This
have a problem with that
difficulty.
statement you made, distinguished, that the president has to
because
call.
He's the head
in our democracy, do we have to wait until the president? Can't we have a system where everyone plays according to the rule? Do you have to wait for a president to call?
Well, that's where we find ourselves.
But should we remain there?
He's the head of the party.
Should we remain
He's the
there?
president of the nation. And so as the leader of the party, which is APC, he has the moral obligation and the moral persuasion to bring them together and say, please, let's go this route. And they will agree with him. And if it's done, yes, bingo. We can have this thing done without much ado. But if that is not done, with these governors having their individual interests, remember this interest is financial. With their individual interests, it's difficult to kind of beat them into one.
Let's talk about your party. As a member of the Labour Party in the National Assembly, are you worried about the depleting number of lawmakers in your party? Because it looks more like your party sort of lacks what is required, which is political structure to, hold on to its members.
Well, thank you for that question. I've always been very uncomfortable to answer this question because it's sad. It's so sad that the Labour Party has found itself where it is today. We have so-called state chairmen who have refused to relinquish.
So-called?
Yes, because I don't recognize him.
Why?
Because his tenure has ended. He's refused to go. Labour Party is trying to put things together to make sure that we have, a critical committee that is going to at least run the party for a while before we can have, our various congresses and have our officers in place. For some reason, he runs to court for every little thing he runs to court. I don't know how he gets his judgment, but that is not helping us. So right now, as it is, in almost every state, we have the chairman who were there. He has gone to place his chairman also in all these places. So you have two chairmen.
That's the national chairman.
Yes, national chairman. So you have two chairmen in most of these states. In my state, for instance, that is what is going on.
Even your presidential candidates did not belong to the faction recognized by court. Then I may be tempted to ask that, are you a Labour Party adherent, considering that probably you don't support the man there, or you are an obedience?
The obedient factor in Labour Party is very important. Obedient, quote unquote, is people who believe in the ideals of His Excellency Peter Obi. That's basically what it is. Yeah. And of course, we believe in those ideals, yes. But the obedient factor has to be harnessed. If it's not harnessed, you see them dissipate. And that's what I think is going on. Today, I don't even know where Labour Party stands. I'm a senator under the platform of Labour Party. But if I can tell, I don't know where we stand. That's a fact.
Which means you don't belong anywhere.
No, well, I still belong to the Labour Party. But
no, you don't know where Labour Party stands.
Yes, whether or not, where are we going, I don't know.
So if another political party comes to source for you,
I'm a politician.
You will consider it.
I'm a politician. I need a platform to run on.
So you are saying that you're ready to dump your party for another party to win the election?
I haven't said so.
So what are you saying?
I'm saying that Labour Party, we need to put our hearts together.
You're a bold politician. So if you don't believe in the ideas of the leadership of your party, your state, and the national...
No, I believe in the ideas of His Excellency Peter Obi. For me, is the leader of Labour Party. The national, so-called, I use the word again, so-called national chairman, I don't believe in his ideals.
But there are strong indications that Peter Obi may soon dump the party. If he does so, would you also follow suit?
Well, he has to consult. He has not told me or any of us any of these.
But if he does, do you see yourself considering,
But I also will not jump blindly. I need to know where we're going. Where we're jumping to, what is there, and we have to consider all of those things, which is why I say we need consultation.
Okay, let's look at these ongoing merger talks by different political parties and interests. Do you subscribe to a merger? Because people have said if Labour Party stands alone, they might not be able to contest against the incumbent in 2027. Are you in favor of a political merger?
Or an alliance?
Well, in our history, there's always been political alliance.
That has never worked.
Well, APC worked.
No, that was a merger.
Yeah, it's a merger. Yeah. Alliance come together, merger come together. We'll give it any other nomenclature, but it has worked for them. So we've always had this in our history. And so having another one now will not surprise me. But the question really, for me, is what are the ideals? What are we standing for? Are we just going to merge so that we can take power for the sake of taking power? Or do we have some ideology that we all can key into that is going to help us lift Nigerians up? Because that's, at the end of the day, that's the bottom line. It's about Nigerians. It's not about us. You see, that focus has to shift. It's really not about us parliamentarians or politicians. It's about Nigerians. How many of us are politicians? We have over 200 million Nigerians. Politicians just minuscule number. And so it cannot be all about us. It has to be all about the Nigerian people. And so whatever even if there's going to be a merger, whatever the merger is, the question now is, what are we merging for? Is it, are we just merging to take power for the sake of, if that's what it is, then I'm not interested. But if there's going to be some ideology an ideal that we can propagate and push for the betterment of Nigerians, yes, then I'm up for it. And I'll do that in any party, so long as this is where we're going.
Well, there's a dangerous trend of cultism in Edo State, and some people are alleging that political actors are responsible for arming, youths with for a means to an end. What is being done at your level and also at the level of government to end this dangerous trend? Because the killings are becoming alarming in the state. What is being done to, end cultism and, limit the killings?
Well, it's a very good question, but I always remind people that there are 3 tiers of government: the federal, the state, and the local government. Most of these things, these killings we are talking about, happens in the state. And then we have state governors who are the chief security officers of their states. If you take a look at their budgets and security votes, it's no joke. It's a lot of money. So always coming back to National Assembly, what are we going to do about it? I always ask, what is the governors doing about it? They're the chief security officer. They have the resources. I don't have the resources to do that. Yes, we can pass the law, but who's going to implement that law? There are laws in the books. There are criminal laws in our criminal act all over the country. So these people commit crime. You catch a man with a gun. It's not licensed, and he has killed with it. Do you need me to pass a law to have him jailed or prosecuted? There's law in place already for that. So the question I will always ask myself is, these governors, exactly what are they doing to protect their states? Each state has Ministry of Justice. Are they really giving them enough resources, the required training? What are they doing?
I remember there was a time on the floor of the Senate when this issue of security votes came up, and the question was thrown that what are governors really doing with that?
Yes.
Do you understand? Is it really put to good use, or is not enough?
No, it's not. Well, they determine what it is anyway.
They determine.
Yeah, of course. I mean, take the National Assembly, the State House of Assembly that they control, and they pass it.
Now, is there a way there can be a legislation that
national legislation?
Yeah,
no,
that in the Constitution that will regulate what percentage goes into security votes?
We can't overregulate everything. I mean, it's not every act that we have to regulate, first of all. But this is where politics come in. And so I present myself to be a governor of the state. And I say, this is what I'm going to do. This is my manifesto. My manifesto. There's crime in my state, and I'm coming for this thing, for this one reason, to reduce crime. And I'm there. I have not been able to reduce crime. They should kick me out. They should kick me out. This is what obtains in other democracies. It's not about power as such. The people are the ones that have the power. And so the economy is not going well. You'll be here for 4 years. We've not gotten anything good about it. Next election, they kick you out. Next. And so if you want to retain your power or your seat, then you sit up. But that's what we lack in this country. You see, unfortunately, I always see us as a country of men, not a country of laws.
The country of men.
Not a country of laws.
Well, let's move forward in this conversation. The 2025 budget is currently before the National Assembly and is under consideration. What are your thoughts about, handling these heads of ministry, departments, and agencies? Because in time past, they were in the habit of, flouting invitation or disregarding the invitation of, the National Assembly. What are the mechanisms and, possible sanctions they may face if they act in this regard?
Well, it's been an issue, a serious one. And I think the leadership of the National Assembly have also presented this before His Excellency, the President of the country, because he's the head of that. But on our own, we're also saying that if we invite you to defend your budget, remember, when we call you to defend your budget, we are not calling you to tell us more of this 2025 budget. We want to hear, what did you do with the 2024 budget? The performance of it. How much did you spend? What did you spend it on? If we find it worthy that you've done well, then we can now discuss the 2025 budget and see what you want to do with this. And so it's critical that they must come before the National Assembly to tell us about this before we can proceed forward. If they don't come, we're also saying that we have the power to appropriate. We can also hold on to your money.
Are you worried about the 13 trillion naira loan plan by the federal government? Because a lot of people have raised eyebrows about this concerning the issue of, expanding the country's debt profile. Are you concerned about this, or do you belong to the group of people that said it's not a big deal? After all, other, big developed countries borrow and they have a large debt profile, so Nigeria can follow suit?
No, I don't belong to that class. But I belong to the class that do not see anything wrong in borrowing.
Okay.
Question: what do you borrow for? That is the thing with me. If you borrow to pay salaries, I mean, that is a wrong borrowing. But if you borrow for critical structural infrastructures, then you have borrowed well. Oh. If you borrow, for instance, to construct roads across Nigeria, you borrowed well. If you borrowed to let us have railways connecting each state capital, you borrowed well, because it's going to also yield income. Over time, you have money to pay for it. But if you borrow for other things, no, that is not acceptable. Yes, other democracies borrow and they have the debt profile is deep. But also look at, they have the ability to pay.
Okay.
Let's talk about the state of the nation and also the impact of, the current government's reforms. Without sounding partisan, do you believe that these reforms are, helping in any way? Are they seeing any positive results, or you have reasons to question them?
Personally, we're just in the second year mark now of our 10 years. And these reforms have started, I'll probably say a year or a year and a half ago. I don't think we need to give them time to see it through.
So are you impressed, or you're not impressed?
Well, my impression is that I'm impressed with the president, especially because he's taking certain bold steps regardless of the political implication to him. For instance, the tax bill.
Okay.
Which the country needs. We must ginger that tax bill so that the country can move forward. But there are threats here and there that if he goes forward, then he may not come again, will not support you. And then, in spite of that, he's saying that we must go forward with this tax bill. If there are contributions, let's have all those contributions. But to say we should just jettison it because of my political career, he's saying no. And for me, that is the mark of a leader.
Now, considering the pressures that still remain on this tax reform, considering the various pressures from some sections of the country, how do you think the government can withstand such pressure, especially that 2027 is also just around the corner?
That's what I said. This president is not looking ahead to 2027, it's looking at now. What do we need to do now, despite the consequences in 2027? For me, that's a hallmark of a leader. Some leaders will look at 2027 and begin to do things, tailor things towards that 2027, even though it's not good for the country. But he is taking a different route, and I think that is commendable. So let's give these policies some time. I believe that it will begin to yield something positive. And if it doesn't, the Nigerian people are there to say, it didn't work. We may have to try another person. And that is why we hold elections every 4 years.
And your view as a Labour Party chieftain is somehow different from the view of an obedient we brought on the show some few days ago. We are talking about tax reforms. The perspective is that people are suffering. They're suffering, so the reform is not necessary.
But the reform, I don't know if you've read that tax bill. That's one thing. We sometimes jump into conversations without having an in-depth study or understanding of what we're talking about. This tax bill helps the common man. If you earn, I think this is 70,000 or below, you don't even pay tax. And then there's the tax breaks for SMEs, small, medium enterprises. So it helps the common man. If the common man can understand that, then they should go for the bill. The issue with the bill is not that at all. Like you said, some sections of the country believe that they are shortchanged, as a result of it. And we are saying, and some of us are saying that, well, VAT is a consumption tax. So let me pay tax on production, yes.
Well, let's talk about your committee, the Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions Committee. Not a lot of Nigerians really understand what this committee is and seeks to achieve. Can you take us through what your committee is, saddled, the responsibilities your committee is saddled with, and what has been the achievement so far? How far-reaching has it been?
Well, thank you so very much. This, again, will be an opportunity to also let the world or Nigeria know about my committee, which is Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions. Now, basically, what the committee does are two. One, ethics amongst us, that is my brothers and sister senators. Ethical issues, will review it and then make recommendations on them. The second one is the whole nation as one. And in that you have many Nigerians who have one petition or another that they want to bring before us. Let me just give you two examples. One we did was a student from University of Abuja who had written his exams, about to graduate, and they rusticated him because they said he was involved in some student unionism and all that. And then he cried to the National Assembly, and we took up the matter. We invited the VC and the DVC. They came, and we were able to resolve it to have him graduate. That's one. I have one now in front of us, which we have exhaustively attended to. A child, 7-year-old child, was killed by what I consider negligence of NDLA officers. Killed, buried.
We saw that story.
And then his brother, eyes almost blinded. And it's been going on. So they came to us, and we invited NDLA. We've gone back and forth over it. And all NDLA is telling me that they're offering 25 million. And I said, for what? 25 million for what? We have a 7-year-old boy dead, buried, who could have been a president. You don't know. And then you have his brother whose eyes is almost going blind. And you're offering 25 million. Will you take that for your own? If that was your son, your children, will you take that? So we've decided, we've told them that, okay, now that you cannot give us something reasonable, we will now give you something reasonable that this family needs to have. And so that's where we are. So we've written our recommendations to the leadership for them to approve it. And then we ask them to pay it.
Well, we must thank you especially for your time with us on the program, and we really hope to hear from you again in subsequent times concerning your achievements in your committee and also some legislative matters as time goes on. Thank you so much, Senator Nedai Maswe.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Well,